Hi yogis, welcome to Myofascial release. We have a 60-minute class ahead of us, and we're going to be focusing today on the feet, the ankles, and the lower part of the leg. All right, so all you'll need today is the toted therapy balls or two tennis balls in the end of a sock. You'll need blocks or books, something like it, and maybe a blanket or a pillow. All right, we are going to start on our backs today, and you don't need anything underneath of you. So go ahead and lay down. And legs can either be extended out in front of you, or feet can just remain on the floor with your knees bent. Taking up as much space with your body as you'd like. Let's take a couple letting go breaths, right? So big breath in. Long exhale out. Just letting your body settle into the space, into the shape. All right, another big inhale. And let it go. And last one. Big breath in. And big breath out. As your body melts onto the mat, as always, we start with our breath, right? Down regulating the nervous system in order to allow our bodies a better space to soften, to open up, to get into the deeper tissues. So today we'll be focusing on a 3-part breath. That's inhaling into the belly, the ribs, and then the chest. Right? So just take an easy breath in and easy breath out. And first, just focus on some belly breaths. So feeling your belly expand out against your shirt towards the ceiling with each breath in, and feeling the navel come into the spine, softening with each breath out. Soft through the jaw, through the muscles of the face, and big through the belly. And then you're going to take a breath into the belly, and then feel your breath travel up to the ribs. The ribs expand out east and west. And then let it go. Right into the belly, the ribs, and exhale. Finding all the space you can clear out for your breath. And then the last part is the next breath in. Let the breath come into the belly, fill it up. The ribs expand out east and west. And then the breath travels up to the chest as the collarbones lift and spread. And then exhale, let everything go. And a few rounds like that into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. And let it go. You get 2 more rounds, your own pace, your own breath. Keeping shoulders and jaw soft, relaxed. Just breathing in, filling up all the space. And breathing out, finding the softness that melt to your body, your muscles. And then after that last round of inhaling and exhaling, just let your breath go as your natural rhythm, that easy breath in, easy breath out, flows in and out. And just noticing how there might be a bit more space or a bit slower cadence to your breath. And then your next inhale, go ahead and Lengthen the legs out in front of you if they aren't there already. You can reach the arms overhead and just start to give your feet, your ankles, some slow ankle circles. Right? Noticing how the tops of the feet, the bottoms of the feet, even up to the calves or in front where the shins are, how everything feels. Are there creaks or cracks? Right? Reverse the direction of the ankle circles. Right? Point and flex your toes. Turn the toes out. Turn the toes in. Right? All directions. And then go ahead, guide your knees into your chest and give yourself a little squeeze, a little rock. And then go ahead, bring yourself up to a seat. And we're actually going to come right to standing. Right? I know I'm crouching down a little bit so you can see me, but you're going to be standing nice and tall in Tadasana. And I want you to close your eyes and just feel how your feet feel on the floor, or notice how your feet feel on the floor. Notice how the shoulders sit. Notice if the weight's a little more forward in your toes or back in your heels. And then let the eyelids flutter open. You're going to grab your toed balls and you're going to take one ball out of the toe. All right? We're going to start with the soles of the feet. Right? So taking your right foot onto one of the balls, and you're just going to start with a stripping action. So your action is going to go front and back, straight out in front of you. I'm just turning to the side so you can see the action in the ball itself, right? So you're just going to start pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling. And again, I'm just crouched down a little bit so you can see me. You're going to be standing straight up, nice and tall, right? And you're in your own home, so you can even hang on to a wall or a chair if balance is a little iffy for you today, right? So you control the speed, you control the pressure. Nice little push and pull. Right? Opening up through the sole of the foot, getting into all that thick fascia tissue. Right? And then you're going to land the heel. So the ball is in the arch of the foot, and a few compressions here. So inhale as you lean in. Exhale as you back off. Right? Breath in as you lean into the ball, and exhale. Right? You got two more just like that. Noticing if you can find or maintain that big spacious breath you had in the beginning when we were doing that 3-part breath. Right? Next time you lean into the ball, spread the toes wide, and then you're just going to windshield wiper the foot right to left. So you're moving from the inner arch to the outer arch. Inner arch to the outer arch, right? And giving yourself a few moments to linger anywhere you need to, right? Inner arch is usually a good spot for me. I hang out for a few breaths because I notice a little extra sensation there, right? Just to know we never want pain. Sensation is okay, but pain is a no-go. Right? And also the sole of the foot, if you have an active form of plantar fasciitis, if you have a flare-up, this would not be a good exercise for you. You can come off the balls and rejoin us when we get to the calves and the shins, right? All right, and then you're going to come to the toe box. So right below the base of the toes, between the big toe mound and the little toe mound. That's what we call the toe box, right? So you're just going to start with those compressions, leaning in and backing off. Leaning in and backing off, moving with your breath, right? You control the pressure, you control the space. Right? Next time you lean in, keep the toes spread and not curling around the ball. And then just once again, windshield wiper the foot. Nice and slow, right? Get curious about how it feels. Get curious about what's in there, right? This is how we connect to the earth, connect to the ground. This is how we stand tall. This is how we have our balance, right? So everything is connected, especially through the feet. And then one more time, compressing in and out. And then you're going to bring the ball by the heel. So sometimes people like it directly on the heel. I usually like it a little ahead of the heel. And once again, you're going to compress in and out, moving with your breath. Right, and next time you compress in, you may start to draw a little circle around the heel or just a windshield wiper back and forth. You can even take that and almost imagine you are squeezing an orange for orange juice, pressing down and a little twist, right? Lots of different variations for the heel. Right, if you find a spot, linger there. And then eventually we're going to come back to that stripping motion. Right? And this is where you can make it your own. So is it you need to linger in the arch a little bit more, or did you want to go back to the toe box? Are you doing a really fast or quick motion, or is it a little slower and juicier, right? Sometimes I play with, drawing a line from big toe to heel, second toe to heel, and working the fascia in that way along those lines. You get about 2 more breaths. And then you're going to go ahead and come off the ball and stand into Tadasana once again. Now, once again, I am bending down so you can see me. You're going to be standing nice and tall. Just notice how the right to left foot feels, right? My right foot feels a little more spread out, a little more wide, a little more balanced, not as heavy. Right, light. All right, we're going to take the ball to the left foot. Same thing, just second side, but also can mean a lot of difference from right to left, right? So once again, my ball is going to be going out to the side. Yours is going to go straight out in front of you, right? So we're going to start with the stripping action, front and back. You control the pressure. You control the pace of this. Letting the toes spread wide. So that way all the joints and the bones spread, so you can really get into those little intricate places. All right, then we're going to land the heel. Find those compressions to the arch. Inhaling as you lean in. Exhaling back off. Right? Shoulders soft, jaw soft. Noticing if you can spread through the toes. Noticing how this side feels compared to your right side. Yeah. Next time you lean in, we're going to pause and windshield wiper the foot left to right. Get curious about the inner arch, curious about the outer arch. We are cross fibering here, so we're going in different direction than how the fibers run. The fibers run toes to heel, right? Lingering anywhere you need to. Maybe it's that inner arch where you just wiggle the toes a little bit or give it a little orange juice squeeze, right? And then let's bring it to the toe box. So the space right below the base of the toes, bending the knee as you lean in on the inhale, exhaling, backing off. Spreading the toes wide, shoulders soft, jaw soft, breath big, right? It signals to our body that we're in a safe space. It's okay to relax. It's okay to soften and, let down our guard. Go ahead, lean in, spread the toes, windshield wiper the foot. Right? So you're getting into all those little spaces in between the toes, in between the joints. And then you're going to go ahead and bring the ball to the heel now, right? Go ahead and compress in and back off. Next time you lean in, pause. And your choice, whether you start to draw a little circle around the heel with the ball, or you find that orange juice squeeze, right? Or you just find one area where you just want to lean in right? All different options for all different bodies. Find that movement, that space that works for you. And then go ahead, start the stripping one last time, front and back. As fast or as slow as you want, as much pressure as you want. Maybe you trace a line from each toe to heel. Yeah. All right, go ahead, come off the ball and stand in your Tadasana, feet hips width distance, right? Now again, I'm crouched down a little bit, but you're standing nice and tall. Close your eyes. Notice how the feet feel. Is there a little balance in the feet? Maybe not standing more in the toes or heels, but standing right in the center of the foot. Maybe you're standing a little taller. Right, you can open your eyes. We're going to come down to the floor. Right? And our first check and recheck is going to be a shape that it's almost like when you're learning how to dive when you're a kid, like you're learning how to dive into a pool, you kind of take the shape, right? So the first shape is going to be you're sitting on your left shin, and then your right foot is going to come in front of you. So it's like you're sitting on back on your left heel, yeah? So I'll turn to face you so you can see me this way. And then just lean forward a bit, tuck your left toe. So my right foot's on the floor, my left foot is behind me, and my left toes are tucked, right? I'll show you one more side view of this, right? And so sitting here, just notice how the right foot feels, how the left ankle, the toes feel, maybe even how the left knee feels, right? All right, and then we're just going to take it to the other side. So right toes tuck as you sit back on the heel, stamp the left foot out in front of you. Okay. Notice how the knees, the ankles, and the feet feel, how they sit. Yeah. All right, let's come to a seat. And if you usually sit up on something for seated postures, maybe a blanket to lift the hips, go ahead and do that now. And now you're going to need one ball for this. You're going to bend your knees, put your feet out in front of you. We're going to work around the ankles to start, right? So taking both hands and just feeling around the inner and outer ankle of one foot, that big bony protrusion, that malleolus bone, right? And then let's go around the other foot. Just feeling around, noticing the different textures, the different consistencies to bone or ligament. All right. And now you're going to extend your left leg out in front of you. And we're going to take like a Janu Shirshasana shape, right? So the right knee is going to be bent and it's just going to wing out towards the right. But the area that we're going for is just above the ankle bone, right? So the blue ball is actually going to be going across this ligament here, right above the ankle bone. So blue ball on the floor. And you're going to be taking that Janu Shirshasana, right? But the blue ball is going to be above the ankle bone, so closer to the knee than the ankle bone, or in relation to the ankle bone, but you're still close to the ankle bone, right? And then you're just going to be, it's a plowing action. So we do this on our glutes a lot. So you're going to start back by the Achilles, right? So by the heel, and you're just going to push the, you're going to pull the shin in towards you, right? You're going to push down and pull your ankle, your shin in towards you. So it's like you're actually rolling over that outside ligament. I know it's hard to see. I'll try and spread my hands a bit so you can see. So I'm just above that ankle bone, pressing down and then pulling my shin towards me. Right? Pressing down, pulling it towards me. And then pause for a moment as you just lean the weight in. It can be more towards the front or more towards the back, wherever you find a spot. Okay. And then just point and flex the toes. Okay. So point and flex. Maybe you circle the ankle. I know the floor is right there, but you can circle the ankle one direction. And then in the opposite direction. And go ahead a couple more times, just plow the outside edge. And once more. There you go. Go ahead, take the ball out from underneath the leg. Your right leg can still stay, the knee can stay bent out to the right. And now we're gonna work around the inner ankle bone. And we're gonna be doing a technique called pin and stretch. And I'll show you on my forearm. You're literally taking the ball, pressing it into your skin, spinning the ball, and then releasing, right? So the ball grabs the superficial tissues, it spins it to mobilize, hydrate, circulate, etc. And then you lift it up. So we're going to be working around the inside ankle bone. So it's quite literally just pinning it down, spinning the ball, and stretching. You can use as much pressure as you'd like. You can go really light, or you can go a little bit deeper. Right? Just working all that tissue around the inner ankle. Right? You can spin either way you want. You can go clockwise, counterclockwise. You may even work up the calf a little bit. Right? These therapy balls are really great for this because they're grippy, so they'll grab the superficial layers of the fascia and they're able to hydrate and increase the circulation and mobilize anything that's a little sticky there. All right, ready? You're going to go ahead and take the ball off to the side. Extend the legs out in front of you and point and flex the toes. Point and flex. Notice how it feels right to left. Maybe even you can see a difference. My right toes are coming more inward towards my body than my left toes right now. Right? Turn the toes out, evert, and turn the toes in towards one another, invert, right? Evert, invert. Just notice the difference. Maybe there's more mobility one side versus the next. Right? And then we'll take it to the other side. So bringing the left foot to the floor and then turning it out, or turning the knee out, I should say, for Janu Shirshasana. And then again, the ball is going to go just below just above the ankle bone, right? So towards the knee, but really close to the ankle bone, right? Not towards the base of your foot. Right? And then we'll do that plowing action. So you're starting at the Achilles side of the back of the leg, right? Pressing down with your hands and pulling the shin in towards you. So then just like it's a typewriter, you go back to the back of the leg, press down and pull it in towards you. So you're moving across that ligament just above the ankle bone. Using as much pressure as you'd like. And just noticing, how does it feel from one side to the next? There's a little more sensation for me on this side. All right, you're going to find a spot, lean in. Right, just like that compression to the bottom of the foot. A few big breaths. And then point and flex that left foot. There may be a couple creaks or cracks. And then roll the ankle in one direction. And then in the other direction. Any last movements you need before we move on? And then you're going to take the ball out. Now remember that pin and stretch motion. We're going to go around the inner ankle bone, right? So you can palpate that with one of your hands, take the ball in the other, and press down, spin the ball, and then lift up. Pin and stretch. Using the grippiness of this ball, to work the superficial layers, the topmost layers. And this is a really good, this pin and stretch with your hand, that can be done on forearms, right, on the underside of forearms, even on like biceps or thighs. Really, really good to have in your toolkit, in your back pocket there, right? Maybe change the direction you're moving with the ball, or even move in a counterclockwise direction if you were going clockwise before. All right, you got one more breath in and out. Okay, let's extend the legs out in front of you. Point and flex. Point and flex. Invert, evert. Just notice how they feel. Are there different sensations, less sensation, maybe a little bit more mobility there? All right, and then the balls are going to go back in the toe. And we're going to start with the calf. So we're going to end up working up the calf and then up the shin, maybe do a little bit on the knee at the end, okay? So balls back in the toe. And I like to have one block. If you like to have two blocks, you can either stack them or kind of create a runway. I find if you have foam blocks, they tend to slide a little bit. If you do have cork blocks at your house, they're a little bit easier to form the runway with, right? So I'm going to take the toted balls on the block, so they're horizontal, and the ball is going to go the long way away from me, right? I'm going to put the part closest to my ankle, where my Achilles is, right? Right on top of the balls, right? Now, option to just leave, I'm on my right side, so option to leave your right leg right here, or if you want a little more pressure, you can cross your left ankle over your right? And at first, you're just going to rock the hips, so right to left. And right away, you may notice there's some sensations popping up, right? So I have more sensation on my outer right ankle than my inner right ankle. And then come back through neutral, and with the right foot, just point and flex the toes, right? We'll come back to this a lot, this pointing and flexing and the ankle circling, right? Circle the ankle one direction, notice any sweet spots, and then the opposite direction. And you may even evert your foot by turning the toes out and invert your foot by turning the toes in. Now notice any sweet spots that occurred. So I have a sweet spot on the outside of my ankle, so I'm going to lean over to the right just a little bit. And then from there, I'm going to point and flex. Right? So think of this as your pinning and stretching. So finding a sweet spot and then doing those few movements, those range of motions that we did, right? The point and flex, evert, invert, circling the ankle. Jaw soft, shoulder soft, breath is big. All right, we're going to go ahead and take the balls up to the mid-calf. So I move the balls on the block just to be in the center, and then place my mid-calf right in that little nook there. Now you may come here and be like, whoa, this is more than enough, right? Otherwise, you're going to cross the left ankle over if you want a little bit more, just a little more pressure, right? And then once again, you're just going to start to rock left to right. This is the part of my leg where I usually notice some speed bumps. Feels like you're going over something crunchy. Usually one of those spots where I linger a little bit longer, right? And this is just to go in the back of your mind, something to come back to later or an exercise to come back to often during the week. Start to point and flex the toes. Notice what that brings up. And then circling in one direction and then the opposite direction. If you found a spot when you were leaning left to right or moving the foot, go back there, linger just a bit longer. Maybe bringing back one of those actions, pointing or flexing or circling. Big breaths. This is one of my favorite things to do at night when I'm watching TV, right? You can just sit on the floor, work those calves. All right, and then last stop is we're going to come just below the knee, right? So move more towards the center of my mat. I'm not behind the knee joint. I'm in the upper calf, but it is closer to the knee, right? You can stay here or cross the left ankle over. And then once again, start to rock. Hips rock left to right. Left to right. Getting the outer calf muscles, the inner calf muscles. And then coming back through center, pointing and flexing. And circling the opposite direction. Right? Invert, evert. Find a spot. Maybe hips rocked out or in. And that spot said, ooh, here I am. And then get that foot or ankle moving again. This is your pin and stretch, right? We're pinning the muscle down and then stretching the spaces around it. All right, go ahead, uncross the left ankle from the right leg. And just a few breaths here, we're going to take a stripping action. It's a little iffy on this one block, but you can make it work, right? I like to lift my hips and just move front and back. Right? And then you can shift the area that you're working in to work more down towards the Achilles or more up towards the knee. All right, go ahead, come off the balls. Extend the legs out in front of you for a moment. We're just going to come back to the pointing and flexing. Invert, evert, maybe circle the ankles. Right? Just notice what's there. Notice what restrictions are there or what freedom is there. And then we'll bring it to the other side. So balls in the same orientation. We're going to come to the left leg. So we're going to start once again right by the Achilles. And we're different from right to left. So you may come into this one side and be like, woo, this is more than enough for today, right? Or you may cross that right ankle over. Go ahead and start to rock the hips, right to left. Noticing how it feels. Using this as a major self-study tool. Where does our body need a little extra love? Pointing and flexing the left toes. Circling the ankle, one direction, and then the other direction. Evert, invert. And then go ahead, come back to a sweet spot. So whether hips were rocked out or in, or maybe in a neutral space where you were just needing a little extra time there, right? This is your time to play. This is your time to make it your own. to explore your own body, your own practice. All right, one more breath. And then we're going to take it up to the mid-calf, right? So situating the balls on the block, determining yourself if you want that left leg just as it is, or you want a little extra where you cross the right ankle over the left, right? Start with rocking the hips. Mid-calf for me always gets real spicy real quick. And then point and flex, big breaths, soft jaw, soft shoulders, right? This is how you give your body the signal that it's okay to relax. It's okay to let go of these muscles that are holding. Circle the ankle one direction and then the other direction. And then find that sweet spot, whether it was rocking in or out, that pin and stretch where you find that spot and then pin the muscle down, pin the tissue down, and then start moving that ankle or foot. Or you may just hang out in compression. That may be more than enough for you. 2 more breaths. All right, last stop on this calf is going to be just below the knee, so still on the calf muscle, just below the knee joint, right? Determine whether this is where you need to stay or you want a little extra pressure by crossing the right ankle over. And then let's just start the shift of the hips. Rocking, almost like you're in like a canoe, right? Oof. This one is tight. I'm glad I'm doing this today. Right? And then go ahead, point and flex. Spin or circle the ankle, I should say. And then in the opposite direction. Invert, evert. Right? And then find that sweet spot. Mine's definitely to the outside this time, so I'm going to rock outside and find that pin and stretch. Two more breaths. All right, come back through center, and you're going to find that stripping action. So moving up and down, right? You may need to shift just a few times to get the whole calf, right? And you may just pause in one area, right? Be creative, get it curious about your own body and what it needs, right? All right, go ahead, come on off the ball. Extend legs out in front of you. Once again, point and flex. Notice the sensations. Evert, invert, and then circle the ankles. I'm going to have much less cracking and creaking as I circle. All right, and then one more time, you're going to come up to standing. Right? Again, I'm going to crouch down a little bit, but you're standing nice and tall. And standing in your Tadasana, I just want you to start rocking into your feet. So lifting up your toes as you rock back, and then rock into the balls of the feet. Noticing the sensations. You may even palpate and like tap a little bit the front of your shins, how they feel. These shin muscles are the muscles that help us walk. They lift our toes and our foot. Really hard to stretch them, so they can be really sensitive. All right, now we're gonna come down onto the ground for our last area that we're gonna work. So much like when we are working on our calves, balls are gonna be toted, they're gonna be on the block or a book, right? And we're going to start once again down by the ankle. Now, I like to have my balls closer to the edge. That way my foot can drop off. It just leaves for greater range of motion, right? So let's start. Here, I'll turn so I can be to this side. And we're going to start on the right foot, right, or right leg. So just above the ankle is where where the balls are, right? Now, if you feel really lopsided here, you can take a blanket, place it underneath your left knee. It just brings you up a little bit more so the hips aren't so out of whack, right? And so let's just start a little rock, side to side, right? Much like we did on our back. Notice the inner and the outer. And then point and flex the toes. And circle the ankle, one direction, and then the other. And then finding a sweet spot, whether it's in a rock or in a compressive state, where you can pin and stretch, moving the ankle, all right, and then just like we did on the calf, you're going to move the balls up the shin, right? So it's going to be in the middle of your shin, foot still hanging off the edge of the block, right? And start to rock the hips. This is also on the shin where it starts to get a little spicy for me. Yeah, go ahead, point and flex. Woo. Go ahead, circle the ankle. And move it in the opposite direction. Just a reminder to myself, I need to do this one more often, right? All right, find that one spot that you can hang out in for about 2 more breaths. And then we're going to move it just below the knee, right? So 3 stops on this one as well. Not on the knee joint, but just below. And you're going to lean in. Start to rock the hips right to left. Inner and outer, right? These balls in the tote are really good for that. They can get to the inner and outer, all in one shot here. Go ahead, point and flex. Circle the ankle. And then in the opposite direction. Okay, find that one spot you want to hang out in. And pin and stretch or just compress, right? You're either going to compress in some stillness or lean in and start to move the foot, the ankle. All right, last breath, and then you can go ahead and come off. All right, before we move on to the next side, we're going to start to explore the knee. Now, the balls toted, they're really great to be able to work just around the kneecap, right? So there's a couple ways to do this. If pressure on the knee doesn't feel good for you, I want you to literally manually just take the balls and roll it over the knee joint, right? So I'm not rolling a ball on my actual knee joint. The toted balls go right to the outside, right? If you want a little bit more, you can come to hands and knees, and just like we did with the shin or the calf, you can put the space right below the knee into the bosom of the balls, and you're just going to bring your knee back in space and then forward. So you're literally rolling over the kneecap, right? Same thing, just a different way to do it. And one more breath. Lots of sweet spaces around the knee. All right, go ahead, come on off. And we have one more side before we recheck, right? So like I said, if it's uncomfortable for the knees or hips to be super uneven, my right shin is gonna go on this blanket, right? And then the balls come to the block, and we're gonna start down by the ankle, right? So just above the ankle, comes right over the balls, right into that little nook. And you're gonna start with that rock side to side. Shifting the hips. And you can even put your hands on a bolster or a block to bring them up a little higher, right? Use what's around you to make yourself as comfortable as you can here. Because when your shoulders are soft, your jaw's soft, when your body's comfortable, that's when your body's going to be able to soften and let the tissues melt and let go. Go ahead, point and flex the left toes. Circle the ankle in one direction. And then the other direction. Find a spot you can either lean into and find a pin and stretch, or just that compression in stillness. That sweet spot on this side. And you've got 3 breaths. All right, go ahead and move the balls up a little bit so we're in the mid shin. This is always the spicy part for me, right? And start the rock. I should have mentioned this on the first side, but if you want to get extra spicy, just like we did with that opposite leg on the calf, you can take this right shin and pop it on the left shin. That is way too much for me, but you know, it works for some people. Just a little extra load. And then go ahead, point and flex the left foot, the left toes. Circle the ankle one direction. And then the opposite direction. Yeah, and then find that sweet spot. And either just compress in some stillness or pin and stretch with a movement of the foot. All right, last stop before we get to the knee. You're going to be just below the knee. Finding a good spot here, right? And if you run into a spot where you go there and you're like, whoa, this is painful, move a little higher, move a little lower, right? Somewhere around it where you're not right on that big pain spot, yeah? And then let's start to rock the hips. Left to right. Big breath, soft shoulders. Find that big belly, ribs, and chest breath, right? Go ahead and start to point and flex the toes. Circle the ankle one direction. And then the opposite direction. And find that spot, whether it's leaning, whether it's in this neutral space that you can either pin and stretch or just compress. Doing what is going to serve your body best, where that sweet spot is for you, right? All right, go ahead, come on off of the balls. You can move the block off to the side, and we're going to do that knee joint again. So you can either manually, right, roll over the knee, or on hands and knees, The knee can come just into the bosom of the balls, and you press it back and roll it forward. And just above the knee, to the sides, and then below the knee. And you know, balls, they roll, so you can always shift them back into space. All right, go ahead, come on off the balls. And we're gonna do our recheck, so that like kids divers pose at the beginning, we're gonna check that out again. So let's start with the right foot. Right foot stamps on the floor in front of you. You're gonna tuck the left toes, sit back on the left heel. Right, notice how it feels. There's a little more space in the ankle probably, maybe even the sole of the foot. Notice how the knees feel. Now let's take it to the other side. Right toes tucked behind you, stamp the left foot on the floor in front of you. Notice what's there. Maybe a little more ease, maybe a little more balance right to left. All right, go ahead, come to a seat. And then maybe grab your blanket or even a pillow or a bolster, right? And then give the blanket a roll or just slide the pillow or bolster underneath the knees, right? We did a lot of work to the lower legs today, so just give them a little support. And then, as always, I'd like to offer you the occipital point as a go-to for your Shavasana, right? So if you bring your hands to the back of your neck, just below the base of your skull, there's these two little indentations to either side of your spine, right? The balls actually fit pretty perfectly right there, right? So I like to offer this as a little intro to Shavasana, just especially when we focus on more of lower body, right? Because the upper body needs to feel like it got a little attention too. So if you have an extra blanket or you even have a block, you can place that behind you. And this just helps the balls stay in place. The block's going to add a little bit more pressure, right? The balls come on the block. And then you can place the balls right underneath the base of the skull there, right? The blanket will have just a little bit less height, a little bit less sensation, but this can be a really high charge point, so be gentle with yourself, right? Making sure your neck is comfortable and not just yanking up forward. Taking up some space with the arms, right? And if this is a good space, but not a space you want to take your Shavasana in, I will cue you out of it, right? But just to take a few moments, a few breaths right here. Breathing in, breathing out, and inhale, and exhale. And let the eyelids close. And just let your breath flow. Maybe there's a little rock left and then right with the head. Really slowly. Just almost like we did on the shins and the calves, right? Just a little rocking motion. And then if you'd like to take just your traditional Shavasana without the balls underneath your head, you can go ahead and move them out of the way for now. We're just going to be here for a few moments. So settling into your space, taking a big breath in, and a long breath out. allowing your body this space, this time to rest well. By all means, you're more than welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. I highly recommend staying here longer. But if you are ready or you do need to shift, just bringing a few movements to fingers and toes, maybe even pointing and flexing the feet, circling the ankles, just noticing the space that's there, the sensations that come up. Reach the arms overhead, a breath in, and then guide the knees into your chest for the breath out. Slowly roll yourself to one side and gently press yourself up to a seat. Letting your hands come together in front of you on a breath in, and let your chin bow in gratitude on the exhale for the space you were able to make for yourself today and the space we were able to share with each other. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have happy feet and legs today. Drink plenty of water and rest well. I'll see you soon. Namaste.